There's no secret about it. Central Florida's roads are packed, thanks to not only tourists, but also the hundreds of people moving here every day, like Brian Giddens.
And you don't have really the roads to accommodate all these vehicles.
He came to Orlando from New York about 3 years ago and says he is not driving.
I don't want to hear nobody in Florida telling me about New York traffic. Nobody. It's worse down here than in New York.
Florida traffic is worse than New York.
Yes, yes,
What?
yes.
You really feel that way?
You don't have this many accidents in New York.
So Giddens uses public transit, first getting on the bus.
See, I take Lynx transportation back and forth to work every day.
And then the train. He's one of the thousands who could be in for a big change if Orange County's penny sales tax to overhaul Lynx and Sunrail actually becomes a reality.
Well, I think it certainly has the potential to be a transformational opportunity for transit in the community, and this is a community that very much needs that transformation.
The penny sales tax is set to raise $600 million a year. 45% of that, $270 million to be exact, is earmarked to remake bus and commuter train travel. How would you all plan to improve your buses with that funding?
What we're looking at here is essentially doubling the size of the bus fleet in Central Florida. Here right now there's about 245 buses that are dedicated to Orange County. We need twice that to accomplish the frequency goals that we are looking for.
Under the county proposal, the Lynx fleet would more than double to about 700 buses. More buses means Lynx can tackle riders' biggest complaint. It's the number of bus routes and the frequency of service. It could also help eliminate those long wait times riders told us about.
And a bus takes an hour, sometimes an hour and a half, going everywhere. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't take an hour to get to your destiny. It should be every half an hour.
Run every 30 minutes. Run every 30 minutes, and you people do not run on Sundays. Sundays is important. People have to go to work, have to come from work. Why the bus don't run on a Sunday? That's no good.
About 7% of our fleet is 15 minutes or less. 93% is more than that. About half of our frequency right now is an hour or more. What we would look at in making the difference is to really turn that ratio on its head, where the vast majority of our routes, the vast majority of those lengths are running at that 10 or 15 minute frequency.
But how does Lynx plan to do all of this?
One of the goals is to make it so that folks no longer have to come downtown for to get their transportation across the county. There will be transfer centers, what we refer to as transfer centers, placed around the county on essentially a grid system that will allow people to, if they do need to take a transfer, that will allow them to make that transfer much closer to their home or their destination.
Another item on Lynx riders' wish list is getting them closer to where they're going.
There's certain routes that once you get off a bus, it will take like maybe possibly 20 minutes or 30 minutes of a walk. So if those buses can reach that route, then it will be nice.
Something else part of this transit overhaul plan? Convenience on Sunrail. If passed, this long-awaited expansion of service hours to nights and weekends is on the top of Sunrail's to-do list. That's something Rollins College student Sergio Varela says he would welcome.
Right now, this semester I'm just taking on Wednesday because it's the only day I can take it. The other days I'm out of school like at 9 p.m. So at that hour, the train's not working anymore from the Winter Park station.
Right now, Sunrail runs Monday through Friday, stopping at 16 stations across 49 miles of Volusia, Seminole, Orange, and Osceola counties. But with this transit sales tax proposal, Sunrail service wouldn't just expand hours of operation. It would also expand locations, going to places like Apopka in Northwest Orange County and also the intermodal station at Orlando International Airport.
It's always been a very important component of Sunrail to have a route, to have a linkage to the airport. And this plan does include a direct link from Sunrail to the airport.
Ditching the drive to OIA and that bumper car fiasco you see outside arrivals and departures, that is the stuff travel dreams are made of for people like Varela.
Like, it would be perfect to just go to the Poinciana train station and then just go straight to the airport. Because every time I have to deal with that, I have to ask people to take me to the airport. Like, it's just a whole thing. It's kind of far, the traffic. So if it extends to the airport, that would be perfect.
I asked Jim Harrison about all of the transformations in the plan for Sunrail and Lynx. Which one could we see first?
The very first thing to do, because it's the quickest and easiest to do, is to add that evening and weekend service and to run the trains more frequently during the day. The connection to the airport is a high priority, has always been a high priority for this region, and it's one that we would certainly focus on and get done as quickly as we could.
And Harrison also reminds this is a multi-year project.
There are things that can be done very quickly, just in the first several months, the first year or so, such as building new shelters, adding some new buses and things like that. Some of the other things, like a new train track construction or something like that, obviously takes a bit longer.
Taking time and money. Dollars which would come from this Orange County penny sales tax if it ends up on the November ballot and passes. Do you think the money that's set aside in this proposal, is that enough to get all of this done?
That's always the challenge, but I do think that this amount of funding has the capacity to be completely transformational for transit in the region.